coming up in today's video, we're going to look at more Wild of Eldraine, including the official effect for Sir Ginger, whose artwork was leaked a while back, what Rowan and Will are up to on Eldraine, and they look at the new Restless lands and how they're going to impact the format, if at all. Let's jump into the video. What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for checking out the video, and if you are new here or just maybe haven't done so yet, please feel free to subscribe, click the like button to like the video, and click the bell icon if you want to stay notified for all future videos. We are covering Wilds of Eldraine daily, every day this week, with all the newest updates and such, so you won't want to miss it if you want to get all the news you need. And the QR code will appear on the screen now. You can scan that if you're interested in checking out the channel membership. It is $5 per month. You get all kinds of different perks, and for the month of August, all channel members will get a free Magic the Gathering booster pack that will be opened live on stream, and their content sent out to winners in early September. So scan the QR code if you want to check that out. Now, for today's video, which will likely be the first of two, we are going to be looking at a large assortment of cards today, and I'm pretty much excluding the majority of commons and uncommons from these videos unless they're noteworthy, just because the amount of time that would take is egregious. Obviously, if you guys want to see that, there are numerous spoiler sites as well as Reddit to go to. However, there are a couple I'll cover in here because they may actually be quite good. First up, we've got Thunderous Debut, which is 6 green, and it has Bargain, which we discussed in a previous video, but if you guys missed it, Bargain essentially says when you activate it, you can sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. If you do, it gains that Bargain effect, which typically ends up being something to your benefit. This one says, look at the top 20 cards of your library. You reveal up to 2 creature cards from among them. If this spell was bargained, put the revealed cards onto the battlefield, otherwise put them into your hand. Obviously, you're going to want to bargain this when you activate it most of the time, simply because, 8 mana to add 2 from your deck to your hand from the top is not exactly going to be worth the payoff in some cases. However, being able to put 2 powerful creatures out onto the battlefield is definitely something else, and if you could do it for something as simple as getting rid of like a treasure token or a blood token or a roll token even, there's definitely upside to be had. I still wonder if it's a little too costly for some of the payoff, especially in, standard and such, but maybe it has a place in Commander. Certainly my Vorinclex Commander deck would find this to be worth a look if you can ramp quickly and be able to cheese out some big creatures. Next up, we've got Scalding Viper, where I just want to give a shout out to this artwork. Absolutely fantastic. This is a red-blue adventure card. The adventure side is 1 and a blue sorcery. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Not terrible. Second effect says, whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value 3 or less, Scalding Viper deals 1 damage to that player. The sorcery part of it's definitely neat, and this can put some pressure on the opponent if you get it out early game. It's cute, I suppose, but I don't really see, it being super applicable. I think maybe if it was, something where when you cast the spell with mana value 3 or less, you're able to burn the opponent for 1 damage. Like, I could see that working a little bit better, but I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to do that. I don't know. It's decent, I suppose, and it is nice that it has that utility out of being able to get rid of a permanent, but as a whole, I'm a bit of a mixed bag on it. Now, Rowan, Scion of War. Last we saw them, I believe they were Planeswalkers. They, of course, have been desparked, so now they're, I guess, battling it out or trying to, save Eldraine or whatever. You can read the story stuff if you're interested in that. Rowan is 1 black-red with Menace, legendary creature, human wizard. It says, tap spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you lost this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So, there are plenty of black spells that can, let you draw cards and lose life, things to that effect. It's definitely not, implausible to think there's ways to make this work in your favor. I'm just not seeing it, off the top of my head, what would make it extremely powerful. You'd have to probably intentionally play cards to make you lose life, unless you were using this to, you can't do it during the opponent's turn being a sorcery, as I'm, reading it on the fly here. So, I mean, I don't know, am I missing something on this? What do you guys think of Rowan? I'm curious, because it doesn't really... I don't know, it doesn't strike me as mythic worthy, but I may just not be thinking about its more, reasonable applications. Obviously, the Menace is good, it's relatively low cost. It's just, I don't know how you're going to lose the life that quickly without building something specifically around it, so we'll have to see what it ends up doing. Now, Will, Scion of Peace, is 1 white-blue, and this one is Vigilance, and it has the same effect except for white and blue, and it's if you gained life this turn. So, again, I could see this being a little bit more practical. White does have a lot of life gain spells, especially if you're playing stuff like a Johnny's Welcome, in Commander formats, or even in, Historic, or, older formats. There's definitely ways to gain life a lot quicker in white, and then reduce the cost of some of your bigger, enchantments and stuff. It definitely isn't a terrible card by any stretch. Neither is the other one. It's just on the surface, I'm not really seeing the immediate application, especially because they're sorceries. So, I mean, yeah, it's nice to reduce the costs, but, you got to have a decent amount of mana out to even really be able to make use of some of that. I don't know. like I said, let me know what you guys think of these two. These are definitely a duo, obviously, you know, that do similar things, but in different ways, and I'm sure there could very well be some combo lines I'm not seeing, so feel free to drop that down in the comments below. Warehouse Tabby is a common, but it feels very solid. It is 1 black creature cat. Whenever an enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 black rat creature token with this creature can't block. You pay 1 in a black. Warehouse Tabby gains Death Touch until end of turn. The reason I like this, of course, is with the roll tokens and stuff, being able to kind of make those quite frequently and being able to maybe get them off the field with ease could allow you to put some rat tokens out pretty consistently. And for a 1-drop card that you can kind of get out early and start to use to stockpile tokens, put pressure on the opponent, this actually does feel like a somewhat decent card. I'm really interested to see what the rat tribal decks will look like as a whole with all the new cards we're getting, and I'm kind of excited to maybe try my hand at messing around with some of that or building some of that in the near future. Spectre of Mortality is 3 black. It is a creature, Spectre, of course. Flying. When Spectre Mortality enters the battlefield, you may exile 1 or more creature cards from your graveyard. When you do, each other creature gains -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards exiled this way. A little costly. It is a 5-drop. I think it could have been a 4, like 2 black, and it probably would have been much better. But let's not undersell the fact that you can still board wipe with this pretty easily if you're playing a deck that gets stuff engraved fast. Being able to play this, you know, -X/-X, it's going to get around a lot of, like, indestructible and things of that nature. It's really not a terrible card. I just think it's a little too costly for standard. It might have application elsewhere. But even then, being a full-on board wipe, you know, in certain cases, if you have enough creatures engraved, might merit some attention. So I'm kind of taking a wait-and-see approach on this, but it's definitely an interesting card without a doubt. Agatha's Soul Cauldron is a mythic. It is 2. It is a legendary artifact. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate abilities of creatures you control. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. You can tap Agatha to exile target card from a graveyard. When a creature card is exiled this way, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So I like the attention to detail here, and I like the way that the design kind of plays exactly into, you know, the whole witch's brew type thing that they were playing up there with Agatha's card reveal. It's definitely an interesting card because being able to get rid of stuff, you know, from the opponent's grave or your grave and then be able to copy those effects and do so with any, you know, any color mana is not something that we see too commonly on a card like this, and it is a relatively low cost thing as well. But still being able to disrupt the grave is good. It's, you know, it's one of the reasons stuff like, what was it, Unlicensed Hearse, you know, can be pretty powerful, and honestly, it's not a bad card at all. I think it's got some use. It might be more of a toolbox / combo, you know, oriented card than just a straight up like auto included things, but yeah, let's see what happens. Blossoming Tortoise is 2 green. This says whenever Blossoming Tortoise enters battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards, then return a land from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activated abilities of lands you control cost 1 less to activate. Land creatures you control get +1/+1. I actually really like the design of this card, and it also makes some lands that like normally aren't amazing or have like weird like slow up things going on a little bit better by reducing the cost to use their effects. I mean, it's a neat card, and it technically, because it's not a legendary creature, you can like copy it or have extra copies out, or you could really do something where you're like kind of ramping relatively quick and then also reducing the abilities of the lands, which I just thought was kind of a neat little effect. It's not often we see direct support for land creatures, so this one's got some intrigue for me, and it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So I'm kind of interested to see what people end up coming up with this card, but it's a unique effect, and I think it actually has some application. Sir Ginger, the Meal Ender. This artwork is just fucking awesome. I gotta be honest. I don't have people look at this artwork. This is just fantastic. Obviously, GINGERBREAD may be upgraded here. But he is 2. He is a legendary artifact creature, Food Knight. So my Sidar Jabari deck is really going to like this. Sir Ginger the Meal Ender has Trample, Hexproof, and Haste as long as an opponent controls a Planeswalker. Whenever another artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sir Ginger and scry 1. And then you can pay 2 and sack it. You gain life equal to its power. So you can kind of buff it up, sack it. You know, it's got that food sacrifice thing going for it. But I don't know, playing against the Planeswalker, it comes out pretty damn strong with all 3 of those things for a very low cost. Obviously, you know, it depends on the matchups, the formats, really, whether or not Planeswalkers are going to be as present there as they would be in some other places, but not bad. I mean, it can buff itself, it gives you fixing, and it's a relatively low-cost investment. I do like this card a lot. Thematically, it's fantastic. Spellbook Vendor, 1 and a white, is Vigilance Human Peasant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 1. When you do, create a sorcerer roll token attached to a target creature you control. Not a bad card. I do like that they're trying to, you know, give some more low-cost ways to get roll tokens that are actually somewhat decent, and this can obviously create 1 each turn, so not bad from that perspective, being able to have a consistent way of getting them on the board, and maybe comboing them with some of your new enchantment-focused stuff, amongst other things. Farsight Ritual is 2 blue with instant. It has bargain, of course. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. If this spell was bargain, look at the top 8 instead. Put 2 in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. 4 mana to look at the top 4 and take 2 is not awful. I don't think, I mean, Impulse is 1 and a blue to get 1. So this is kind of makes sense. It's kind of in line with what we've seen with mana cost. And obviously bargaining it does let you dig deeper into the deck. I don't know if that, I mean, it's still, obviously it's still better for consistency purposes, being able to look. I don't know if that second part is going to be worth it all the time, but if you have extra things laying around you can sacrifice and you really need to get to something for a combo, you definitely have, you know, the option to do so with Farsight Ritual. And finally for this one, Restless Cottage. This card is freaking awesome too. I just love the artwork on this and everything. There's a whole Restless cycle, and we haven't seen all of them yet, but I'll cover them when they come up. This one is Restless Cottage enters the battlefield tapped, and then you can tap it to add black or green. Pay 2 black-green. Restless Cottage becomes a 4/4 black and green horror creature until end of turn. It's still a land. Whenever it attacks, create a food token and exile up to 1 target card from the graveyard. This is really, really cool. And a 4/4 creature with, you know, the ability to just come out each turn and then shut itself back off, especially if you're combining it with stuff like that new Tortoise that can reduce the cost of land abilities, it's not bad. Also, exiling stuff from grave and creating food tokens plays into those token, you know, generating decks quite a bit. So there are sort of multi-uses for this card, which is always interesting. I definitely am excited to see the other ones. It sucks that it comes into play tap, but some of them, if they're, you know, as powerful as this card might have the potential to be, it reminds me of, like, you know, like a Faceless Haven, obviously not quite as good, but I mean, in that type of application, I could see it just, you know, being a 4/4. That's pretty good. So, I don't know. What do you guys think of Restless Cottage? We'll have to see what the rest of the Restless cards do, and if they're going to hold up to the, you know, the standard of being playable, or if they're just going to be another card with a cool concept and design that gets left out in favor of, you know, more powerful, more consistent stuff. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of everything we've seen so far, and be sure to stay tuned to the channel for updates as we go along this week for Wilds of Eldraine. Peace.